Um, so I'm going to be starting a mini-series, and it's going to be talking about speaking to the work that I do, um, working with children, and about my experience and how I interweave my experience and my knowledge working with children. And so I've spent years, so I've worked with children for over 16 years, and I have led programs from outdoor education, working in behavioural schools, working in out of school hours care, and working with individuals with mental health diagnoses and neurodevelopmental conditions. Lots of experience. But you sometimes have some people who have experience on paper, and it's like, how's that practical, right? But I've led these programs and been supporting children, and I think because I've experienced different things, different kinds of people, it gives me a slight edge. Okay, I'm being extremely humble, and this is uncomfortable for me because I sort of try and let my work speak for itself, and this is an extremely powerful time for me. I have to show my worth, and so part of being able to do that is communicating to that uncomfortable, awkward, so not a slight edge. I know my stuff with regards to child development, about key areas. I deep dive, I focus on stuff that I don't fully understand, and so then I become an expert. Like, experts technically if you know 100 hours. I'm an expert in child development and how to support them, and how to manage their behaviour. There's always going to be people who are better. See, that's my humble side. But I know my stuff. I know how to guide children. And part of that is also knowing that I am always learning as well, and how I can adjust, and that's trial and error. So there's my little thing in case someone's like, you can't know everything. I'm not saying I do. We always change. We're humans, right? And children pull out this crazy emotional side to us because they know and they feel it. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is I'm going to be doing this mini series, and basically all these sort of thoughts that I have, and stuff that I talk about with my staff or my notes, and I'm just getting these thoughts down, and I'm recording it because I think it's really important for people to understand how much reflection and how much effort I put in. Like, yeah, people go in and work and they're passionate about doing like, I am so passionate about how I program. I'm so passionate towards how I train my staff and how I best support children and manage them in their, like, individualized care. They have these situations, everyone comes in and they walk in and they've got their situation, and I try and meet them where they're at. That is genuinely who I am as a person. And yeah, I suppose these reflections are really to show what happens in the day-to-day of working, and how I come home and I reflect, and like, yeah, I could just decide to switch off, but I'm not that kind of person. Like, there might be a scenario with a child, and I think about it, and it's not like I'm consciously thinking about it, but it's just the kind of person I am. Like, I genuinely care. Like, I care so much about the children that I look after. Like, I genuinely care. Like, their parents honor me with looking after their children, and at a fundamental developmental point in time, and everyone's really like, oh, 0 to 5, 8 to 12 nowadays, like, you're just about to become teenagers, and so it's a super powerful time. Like, this is when they're not as compliant as they usually are, and this is when they're trying to find their voice and trying to really understand who they are. Teens, it's a bit more solid, like, they're still navigate, but 8 to 12, I think they're forgotten age in some sort of way. Like, they're children, but they're sort of mini adults to when what we thought teenagers were. Um, but yeah, essentially in a day, you've got so many emotions that we're working with. We've got little small wins. There's so many strategies, and it's often invisible strategies that go behind the scenes. And down to like technology use in terms of how I do regulation, how I manage the space, how I consider supporting life skills. How do I include everyone? Not just like we're going to do an icebreaker and include, but inclusion from like I've got children who've got additional needs, and how do I best manage them, and how do I lead my team? How do I support parents and communicate, effective communication with parents, and manage their expectations? Because even though I'm looking after the children, my, essentially my clients, it sounds really bizarre, but they're my parents, so it's best supporting them. But yeah, as I say, like, it might sound really strange, but I forget how much I know, because it's like I've just gathered it over time. But then as I speak to people, it just, and as I've been speaking with my new manager, I just realized there's a lot of information I don't know. And I see these notes from people saying, Charlotte, you do phenomenal work and all this, and it fills my heart. It really does, and I really appreciate it. And they're like, but you give so much. And yeah, I suppose instead of me being like, please sign a petition, it's about me just, I think people will get to see how passionate I am about, yes, it's children, but all this together. And maybe that needs to speak for itself. So yes, I'm talking about it, and yes, I'm like, please sign that petition. But I'm going to speak to that, and you're going to watch it, and then you're going to be like, oh, okay, she's pretty rare. Anyway, so yes, it's stuff I'm passionate about, but it's it's a dual purpose, and I always sort of want to be able to talk about this stuff. But I think what's really interesting now is me going, I know my stuff. I know my stuff, and I speak to it with my parents, but it's also about going, do you know what? I am going to stand up and be like, I know my stuff, and I'm going to share it, and it has value. The information, and I have value. Oh, I know I do, but like it feels really like saying that on screen, not just to friends, but to people who might not know me. It feels really up myself, but yeah, this is a step for me to grow. And this isn't about me having attention, it's about rightful space, and the work I do deserves it. It's about sharing this, and yeah, thanks for joining in for the journey. I can never finish these. I whittle on, and then I'm like, why do I wrap it up? I'm like, yeah, thanks for listening. But yeah, thank you for being here. It's going to be a bit of a journey, and yeah, let's get to it. Woohoo!